So, just a few words for the next speaker. Exactly 20 years ago, his face was on the first historical cover of Wired magazine, and the headline was, "This man has seen the future." I can tell that probably he has never stopped. Bruce Sterling.
Green to go, yes. So this would be me. Along with writing for Wired magazine, I wrote for Make magazine for a while. And I really did write about subjects from Da Vinci to Bonzi in this magazine. But I'm not a maker, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a designer. I'm a literary guy. I'm a critic and a novelist, which is why I always carry paper with me. So, I was asked to write for Make in their early days because they knew I'd be friendly toward their ideology and philosophy, which indeed I was. But this is the sort of thing that really interests me, design criticism. So, this is a sketch I did some time ago. I've got another version which is Italian and rather more elegant that I'm about to upload. But this describes, products as they exist in the world. Conventional products there. They arise in our capitalist society because of desire, consumer demand, and feasibility. They have to be buildable. And also because we live in a capitalist world, they need to be profitable. Somebody needs to make money from them. So all conventional products, non-maker style products, things that you would see in stores and be able to buy, are usually in this iron triangle in the center, in this hard box of conventional products. But there are other things that we can imagine and make that are outside this box of the desirable, the buildable, and the profitable. And I want to show you some of those in the next 10 minutes to kind of expand your thinking outside this box of what our society creates and desires and rewards into the full spectrum of what we can actually imagine and do. So this is a kind of typical maker-style toy, a steampunk USB. It's mostly pretend. I mean, the mechanical devices don't really work. It works as a USB plug. It's a data holder. But then it has this extra bit of technology dress-up. It's kind of pretend because it's profitable and desirable, but not really buildable. You don't really have USBs that have real working cogwheels in them. It's not practical. It's just kind of a cool maker cosmetic toy. Here's an artwork, which is by Jean Tinguely, built a great many art machines in the 1950s and 1960s. The machine really works, but it doesn't have any particular function. It's just there to be a beautiful art device. And you just kind of watch it being mechanical, and that's kind of the point. Here's a Charles and Ray Eames invention, which was sponsored by Alcoa, the American aluminum company. But it's the do-nothing machine. And it did nothing. It was solar-powered. You can see it's got this little solar power thing off to the side. And it whirled around, and it was sort of beautiful, and it just demonstrated that electronics were occurring, motion was going on. It's beautiful, but it's not for sale. There's only one. It's not really practical. It serves no particular purpose other than to be design art, and the way that Tinguely's work was mechanical art. This is a chindogu. And the chindogu date back to the 1980s. They're Japanese. They are unuseless objects. And there's an entire group of people, mostly Japanese, who make chindogu. And they do make them. They have to physically exist. But they're not really practical objects. They're not for sale. What they are design solutions to problems that don't really exist. Why would someone really need to light his cigarette with a lens? But, it does work. Here's some others. the 360-degree camera, the umbrella that catches rain, the cat that mops the floor with its feet. Yes, they're funny, but they're never deliberately funny. What they're doing is exercising design ingenuity in ways that are not practical. They're just not really buildable. I mean, they do work, but they don't actually super work. They don't really have a use, but they're unuseless. There are thousands of them, multi-volume books of Chindogu. The Chindogu movement is almost as big as the maker movement in some ways. It's kind of a sister movement. This is the famous cartoonist, American cartoonist, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, Rube Goldberg. Rube Goldberg did a lot of machine age parody, just fun things. This is an automatic mouth wiper. Got the napkin there to wipe his mouth. Of course, the bird has to eat the toast, and then the bird seed falls into the bucket, and the rocket goes off, and then his mouth is wiped. He's got some nice dolcetto there in the wine glass. This is a cousin of his, William Heath Robinson, the British cartoonist. He's just making fun of mechanical devices and mechanical inventions and the fact that people lived in a mechanized society. Here's a guy who has all the comforts of home except he's outside his window, held up by balloons. And this is a modern, lest you think this is an old-fashioned idea, this kind of technology parody or technology invention humor. This is Giuseppe Colarusso, who is an Italian graphic artist who also he's a contemporary guy. He's working right now. Just an inexhaustible imagination. He's done hundreds of these devices, the improbable devices. And he's really showing a great fertility of Italian invention and elegance here. I'm a big Colarusso fan. I really think he's doing something worthwhile and stimulating. And these are design fictions or diegetic prototypes. And since I stopped writing for Make magazine, I've been doing quite a lot of work in the design fiction field, and my blog is full of design fictions, and if you want to know more about that, just try Googling it. But these are, design fictions or diegetic prototypes. They're basically works of imagination which seem real but don't actually function. And they're there for the purpose of futurism. They're there to get people to think about objects and services that don't yet exist but might exist. And they're using classical design skills in order to make unthinkable things seem thinkable or maybe even inevitable. So these drones don't really work, but they are created as if they might work. So much for objects which are desirable and buildable but not really practical. These are from a different category, which are objects which are practical and desirable, but not really profitable. And this is a kind of design povera, or poverty design, which is called in India Jugaad. And I'm a big fan of Jugaad, and there are also many people who collect Jugaad things, and there are websites about Jugaad and so forth. So what you see here is basically an Italian-style cappuccino maker. It's a coffee foamer, but you can see it's being made by a street vendor somewhere in Mumbai, and he has invented the thing. He's made it out of leftover pieces. I mean, it is a cappuccino machine, but it's the opposite of an elegant, well-designed Italian cappuccino machine. It's got a homemade screwdriver, a repurposed lid. It's held in cardboard. Everything's portable, and yet, nevertheless, there he is, foaming his coffee. There's an excellent example of design povera here, building povera. Somebody stole the doorknob, which is very common in India. People just steal small bits of metal in order to sell them. So if someone else found this piece of a bicycle and realized, I'll just put the pedal on and we'll have a new lever for the door, possibly the bicycle itself was stolen. You know, people laugh at these, they seem funny to us, but what they really are design interventions by people who are just denied access to a conventional economy. They're just really, really poor. They don't have any money. Even they can't go to the store. So they're using human ingenuity to make up for the malfunctions in their environment. This one is so wonderful. I mean, this is a shoe, you know, and I know that Italians are kind of extremely shoe-conscious people. I spend a lot of time in your country, and, you know, I've noticed the fondness for shoes. And the thing I love about this is that it makes absolutely no effort to turn the bottle into a shoe. It simply makes the bottle into a shoe with one decisive gesture. Crush it underfoot, stick your foot under the label, and then walk. It's fantastic how little effort is invested in this, you know, and yet it would probably work, you know, for the brief amount of time that you really needed a cheap plastic slipper. These have a wonderful poetic quality. This is Jugad, too. You can see it's from My India Pictures. It's a dead computer which has been repurposed as a bookcase. You just rip the shell off, nail it to the wall, and fill your dead digital media with analog media and a coffee thermos, which I thought was very nice. This is a Jugad game controller. You know, and really you have to admire the elegance of this. You know, it's just literally, he glued it on there, and now he's got the driving wheel. I mean, why not? You know, he's got an Apple over there, you see. He can actually afford an expensive machine, but he's deliberately come up with this Jugad hack. I mean, this is somebody who has money but has learned how to think in a Jugad way, right? I mean, he's actually broken the box of thinking, oh, I'm going to go out and buy the expensive game controller. No, he knows what Jugad is, and he's able to do it, and maybe in 5 minutes he's just come up with this scheme. And this one I think is particularly beautiful. It's very small here, but this is a dead light bulb which has been repurposed as an oil lamp. There's something wonderful about this device which was promising to give light, but then the electricity went out, and it burned out, and somebody just turned it into a lamp. I mean, Mark Frauenfelder here was showing some things from old Hugo Gernsback magazines, and repurposing light bulbs was one of the things Hugo Gernsback was doing in the 1920s. But there it is. It's a light bulb which has failed to give light, but has been forced to give light again through Jugad. So what about version number 3? Items which are buildable and also profitable, but not desirable. Bad things. Okay, this is prison electronics. This is a kind of prison Arduino. It was built by a German electronic engineer. He was arrested. He was in jail in Germany, and he decided to build his own listening device so he could spy on his jailers. And he broke open radios, and he stole bits and pieces of things, and then he rebuilt this spy device inside the prison. You can see he's tried it more than once. This is number 2, it says. And this is the receiving device for him to listen as he bugs his own prison. It's a listening device which is hidden inside a book. Okay, this is technical ingenuity by an evil person who's doing undesirable things and has been put in a position where he has no access to anything. He's literally in jail. So he has to just make whatever he can by whatever means are possible. There's a lot of this around. This is contemporary military hacking. This is an improvised explosive device, which have been very famous ever since the United States invaded Iraq. There are thousands and thousands of these. There are armies of people now who have been trained to make these explosive devices. This happens to be one which is triggered by a cell phone, an old Nokia, but all this homemade electronics is there in order to maim and kill. This is an improvised maker weapon of war. Syria, all over with these. They're very powerful. They're very strong. They've killed hundreds, maimed thousands of soldiers. They're very serious weapons, even though they look more ungainly and less well-designed than most items you're going to see here at the Maker Faire. This is maker as killer, and not to be underestimated by any means. This is military research, not for profit. It's from the Great War. Here you can see guys investing in a little bit of augmented reality. These are actually aircraft spotters. They're going out trying to listen to biplanes approaching so that they can meet the... But there's no money involved in this. It's not anybody's paying them to do this. They're actually in uniform and commanded to do it. Very inventive, the military. This is the world's first transistor. This is a laboratory device. It's not worth any money yet. It's obviously as ugly as any maker device. Jew God is prettier than this. It's a really horrible device as a design device, but it's turned out to be the source of just tremendous amounts of commercial activity, wealth, transformation of society, genuinely a world-changing device. Maybe the most powerful world-changing device of the 20th century. The game is still out there. But this is genuinely a world-changing device, and it just doesn't look very promising, does it? It's just sort of ugly, small, and sad. Who would have guessed in seeing this that this was the seed of such a colossal social transformation? But it was. Oh, okay. And this is an open source computer. As you can see, it's actually a pretty heavy-duty iron, but it's all plug and play. It's got that kind of GitHub look to it. Yank parts out. Everybody collaborated in building it. This is CERN. This is me at the gigantic science lab in Switzerland, outside Geneva, somewhere to your north up there. A gigantic, one-of-a-kind scientific instrument. There'll never be another. It's unbelievable what you see in there. Everything in it is a hack. And this is the fate of all these things. Eventually, they will not be buildable, they will not be profitable, and they will not be desirable. This is a high-tech satellite device, 30 years old, no longer works, clamped there, rusting, dead. Over the long run, it all becomes this. This is where it all goes, all of it. All the Jew God, all the commercial things, the pretty ones, the ugly ones, the scientific ones, the rest of them, they all end up in this condition at the end. That's the situation, and that's why you have to seize the day. You have to seize the day now. The world does change. It changes with or without you. You can ally yourself with the forces of change, or you can't. This is one of my happiest days in Italy. I knew that this would happen when I began writing for Maker Faire. I foresaw this in many ways. I'm really delighted that this event is going on. I'm really happy that I don't have to do any work after this speech. I just get to enjoy it. I hope you enjoy this half as much as I do. It's really great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Listen, Bruce, hold a second. Okay, just a second. You moved to Italy like a long time ago. How long you moved? It was,
yes, I did.
so you know Italians very well now?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
No, okay, it's impossible.
I don't think Italians know themselves.
Okay, I think you're right, probably. But could you expect one day that Italy could host such a big Maker Faire?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Well, I just think it actually, the Italian temperament suits it. It's just craft, it's small design, and arte povera, and, the seeds of it are lying all over the ground. Okay. It's like watching somebody throw a lit match into dry grass. You could lead the world. You could. Very easily.
Wow. Thank you, Bruce. I love that.